Hello, folks.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that house on the news. That must be
It's
by you, huh?
it's just down the street from Haley's place.
Isn't he getting
She
fined by the city? Isn't he getting fined by the city or something?
per sign $5 a day. And
Looks
he
like
has
he,
a GoFundMe account that's paying for it. And has been for about 4 years now.
well, it doesn't look like he needs the money.
Oh no. No. Yeah. I mean, can you read it?
Yeah,
Who's your
yeah,
daddy?
yeah. That's funny.
I wonder if I can share this. Maybe that wouldn't be right. Maybe I can post it up here. Give me a minute. How you doing,
How's
Mike?
how's everyone doing?
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Doing real well. Sorry, you caught me drinking my coffee.
Oh, that's what every waitress does to me.
I know.
Yeah, you notice that routine? They walk right up while you got a mouthful of food in your mouth. Everything
Always.
okay? Oh, yeah.
I used to wait tables going through college, and I would do that on purpose.
Oh
So they
yeah.
would go, "Oh, okay, okay," and you walk away, and like, "Hey, they're happy."
They can't see anything.
That or a big bite of food,
Yeah, one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
We were
share an
talking.
article with you guys. What's the best way to do it?
You got to share your screen so Trent will be able to.
Well, no, it's
Yeah.
an article, so it's better to send it and let you guys read it yourself. It has to do
Oh,
with the yen carry trade.
oh, can you post it on our chat, or
Put
you
it,
can put it in the platinum chat on the Discord too.
we'll do that. It's about
Yeah,
the reverse carry trades with the yen.
yeah.
Yeah. Is that unwinding again?
Pardon me?
Is that starting to unwind? It's unwind again?
From what this gentleman is saying, it looks like it's coming like a wave. And I
Really?
think,
Is that because the dollar is on a run higher?
no, it's because of the Bank of Japan. I still have one
Oh,
paragraph to read. I've been trying to read this all morning and I keep getting pulled in 17 directions.
oh,
Basically, it's talking about the Bank of Japan, how they're into a position where they have to raise their interest rates. And that's what they did in July. They started in March and then in July, which is 4 months. And it says that basically the conditions are the same as what they were in July. So the probability seems to be high that you're going to have another one of these carry trades. Now, my concern looking at that from a macro perspective is that the carryover is going to be twice as worse as last time because it's going to create that much more hysteria within the market and it's just going to roll and roll and roll. You get that momentum, reverse momentum.
yeah. So one thing to think about is they had mentioned, I think, maybe a couple weeks ago about they're going to have to address this inflation element increase that they're seeing, the reinflation side. So I would not be surprised if anybody who's doing a carry trade has been unwinding that for a while or repositioning it.
I would
So it
hope
may,
so, but you
yeah,
never know with some of these people that take this risk. They don't care if they're making huge bucks and they think, well, how much am I going to lose? Well, if I'm going to lose X, but I'm making Y, well, I'm ahead.
right,
So Mike,
right.
do they have like derivatives and things on those carry trades so it goes further than just the carry trade?
Oh, you can guarantee there's
Well,
derivatives and
that's that
swaps. So,
yeah,
Future
that's what would
contracts.
scare me
yeah,
watching
but
those
that's
things.
Yeah,
that's stuff you can't follow because it's all institutional and it's between, two different parties and they don't report it out there. And
And
that's
there's no collateral.
right,
Yeah.
right.
well,
That's kind of what would happen with the Baring Bank. That the guy was trading with himself and there was nothing there. And then when it finally blew up, one
Yeah.
pound for that bank.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
one thing to take in consideration was when they raised rates last time in July, they
Are we
it
talking
was
about
totally
Japan?
a shock.
Japan, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that was unannounced. It was unexpected. I mean, they had kept rates so low. But since then, there has been chatter about that they're having to address this issue. So it may not have the amount of effect because I think a lot of probably these guys who are doing these carry trades, yes, they are all into risk and the whole bit, but they also are into staying into business. Um, so they probably have already hedged it or are getting close to a point where it's not so catastrophic.
You would
Um,
hope, but you,
well, yeah,
that might
there's
only
always the
be a
what if.
portion of it that's out there, and you're
Yeah, I
gonna have
mean,
Yeah,
other people that are gonna piggyback along with it or are gonna jump in and
yeah,
then they're gonna freak out.
yeah.
yeah,
That's what my
true.
concern is.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
landmines out there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of them
Ton
yeah,
for
of
sure.
landmines. I shared that article on there. I would highly recommend everybody read it. It just gives you a clue of potentially what's coming down the pike. And if
Did
we
you put it
remember
on?
correctly, that was Monday morning that hit.
Okay.
As the
Did you
market
did you
opened on Monday.
did you put it on the platinum chat?
I put it on the platinum chat.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
This guy I follow, he's got some really good insight on the macro level, and he pulls things that would pass up to us because we don't really see the institutional business.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, can I just show one thing before we get going?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is just down the street from me. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
It's been on the
Your
news.
daddy.
This guy has posted these banners, different banners for the last 4 years. He gets fined $5 per banner per day, and he has somebody set up a GoFundMe account, and the GoFundMe account has paid for the whole thing for the last 4 years. It is honestly, when you drive by it, you go, how the hell does that happen? Not from the standpoint it's Trump or whatever, but it's so like in your face for our community. So, anyways, I had to show that to you because my daughter took a picture of it today and on her walk and sent it to us, and she just like laughed and she goes, "This guy doesn't give a shit about
It's like
anything."
my house.
Is that what your house? You
Right?
have the blow up ones, right? You have the blow up Trump and JD Vance out front.
I couldn't do that in my neighborhood.
No,
I could not do that in my neighborhood. I would probably have the police knocking on my door.
yeah,
Nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
They can just send you fines and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's the other people that live around you. And
Yeah.
all the shit that they pull.
That's
not to
why
be
that's
political
why
or
that's why I
anything,
live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're
right?
smart. That's
Yeah.
my next move.
Yeah. So all right,
All right, Mark.
we'll get rolling here. And we didn't have a meeting last week. I was gone. I went down and saw a Clint Black concert down in Kansas and then went over to Kansas City for a day and had a good time and came back worn out and with a cold. So I'm fighting that this week. But not going to keep me down. So Sunday we're going to go see Casey and the Sunshine Band up in Omaha. So
Oh my
seen him,
God.
seen him before. He's really good
Casey and the Sunshine Band.
for as old as he is. He's awesome. And it's like a geriatric festival because there's no one over the age of or under the age of 50 in there. So anyway, so that's my plan for the week if I can get through the weekend. So let's talk a little bit about we had the election a week ago Tuesday, okay, and then that brought a lot of momentum. So my theme kind of today is the election results and the momentum generator and what's happening now. So for the past several weeks we've been watching these major market indexes and a lot of stocks too just trade sideways pattern. They were waiting for a catalyst to move that price action one way or the other, and the catalyst was the national elections. And you can go look at any chart, and we're going to, and just see everything just gapped up, on Wednesday. Just about everything. I have to clarify, not everything did that. Some of them gapped down, and it was interesting because we did a two regular guys video a week ago on election day, and Trent put it out, and we kind of went through what we thought would be if Trump won, what the Trump trades would be, and if Harris won, what the Harris trades would be. And they turned out to be pretty close. So we'll go through that a little bit. So I mean, the results were, if no one was in the world or in the universe, Trump won. He had an electoral landslide. Basically, they had way more electoral votes. Wins the popular vote. Something that surprised me was the Senate flipped, and then they kept a very slim margin in the House. I think they just announced that yesterday. So it's going to be an interesting time. You can see whether you agree with him or not. I'm not going to get into that, but he's aggressively moving forward on nominating who his cabinet's going to be and his top people. And Elon's right there, and it's providing a little bit of entertainment from that point of view. So it's going to be, when he hits the road running, it's going to be an interesting time. And I think personally the markets are going to like majority of what he's trying to do, but time will tell. We've already seen it before. And again, markets tend to over time not really care who's in the office, and we'll go through that a little bit too. So it's apparent when you look at the charts, the SPY, the diamonds, the Qs, that the election results provided upward price action momentum. And again, with the gapping up of the price, and then the oscillators all turn pretty much positive. And then we can see there's a momentum ETF out there. It's MTUM. It's called the MSCI USA Momentum Factor. That tracks an index of US large cap stocks exhibiting relatively higher price momentum. The MTUM focus on stocks with strong price momentum, aiming to capture potential upside from those highs. That chart on the last Friday, trading volume went up to 13.78 million last Friday, where the Monday before the election, it was only trading at 570,000. Okay, so a lot of people went in, and you see the momentum change after the election. But the theme for the second half of last week was momentum, and market momentum refers to the rate at which a security price is changing up or down. It's the speed and direction of a price trend. The market with strong momentum is one where the prices are moving rapidly in a particular direction, up, down, and you can see it in the charts. It's important to know that momentum, we think it can, it's a temporary phenomenon, and it'll change around. So markets don't go up forever, markets don't go down forever. That's why we can swing trade, because we have ups, we have downs. So eventually all trends come to an end. Therefore, it's critical to use momentum indicators in conjunction with other technical and fundamental analysis tools to make informed investment decisions. So in our Two Regular Guys video, we talked about the effect of the election on the markets this week. And we talked a little bit about before the election, and I think we had some questions either in Kerry's call or this call, that some 50%, 7% of the investors say they were anxious about the election. And that was a survey from Betterment. And 40% said they plan to move or pull investments from the market based on which candidate wins. Okay, so again, I've heard a lot of that, and it's better to stay calm, and the markets really don't care too much on the long term about that. And historically speaking, when you get out because your candidate falls short, it's been a losing strategy. Okay. Consider the research that Carson Research Group just put out, and it tracked the performance of the S&P 500 under ever presidency since 1953. If you would have stayed invested during the entire time frame since 1953 in the S&P 500, you'd have 1.7 million. And the reason is the S&P has gone up 17 of the last 20 four-year administrations. Okay, not even caring who was in there. So this Ryan Dietrich, he's the market strategist at Carson Group. He went on to say, if you got out of the market because you didn't like the person who was in the office, you gave up some really great gains. And I've seen that. I've seen studies of people, they didn't like Obama, they got out, they got screwed in the market. They didn't like Biden, they got out. They didn't like Trump, they got out. And you just go back through history. They didn't like Carter, they didn't like, depending on what the economy was like. But for the most part, you made money no matter what party or what person was in there. So we talked about Trump trade, and we talked about Harris trade. And we said in the Trump trade that some of the winners would be banks or financial institutions because the Trump win would lift Wall Street banks, and we're thinking about JP Morgan, talk about Bank of America, talk about Wells Fargo, and it's on improved domestic investment, looser regulations, and you're seeing Jamie Dimon talk about that. He was really, the regulations and the amount of money they had to hold, he was really complaining about that, over the last couple of years. Domestic job additions and tax cuts were some of the things that they were looking for that would help banks. They also said merger and acquisition beneficiaries like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley would be better because it'd be a more lenient approach to antitrust regulation enforcement. Of course, crypto, more receptive regulatory approach to digital assets under Trump and Wynn could benefit crypto stocks, which we know we have. Energy, Morgan Stanley thought that a Trump presidency would priority reducing the regulatory burden on domestic oil and gas production. Well, they don't have to think that because he talks about drilling all the time, and less restrictive on those industries. The one that surprised us a little bit was prison operators. They may benefit from Trump's reelection on the promises of cracking down on illegal immigration and restrictions on legal immigration, which could boost demand for detention centers. And then small cap stocks, because U.S. focused companies could benefit from business incentives and tariffs that favor domestic production. And we saw that also. So if Harris had won, they were saying that the sectors that would benefit was home building, solar, and healthcare. Okay. So we can take a look at the charts here in a little bit, and I'll show you exactly what happened. But the big one that I watched, and everyone's probably watched, was Bitcoin and crypto in general, but Bitcoin. And Bitcoin surged more than 25% since Trump's win and hit a high of over $93,000 this week. Its year-to-date gain stands at more than 122%. The Bitcoin increase appears to reflect the investor enthusiasm about Trump, who has vowed to bolster the cryptocurrency sector and ease regulations enforced by the Biden administration. Gary Gensler gave a speech yesterday, and he's no favorite of the crypto people, and they want him out, and it looks like he's going to resign. If you remember, in July, Trump was at a big crypto currency Bitcoin conference in Nashville. He said he wanted to turn the U.S. into the crypto capital of the planet. He also promised to weaken federal oversight of cryptocurrency and establish the federal government's first national strategic Bitcoin reserve. And I think I just saw yesterday that Pennsylvania is looking into putting 10% of their sovereign fund into Bitcoin. Are going to vote on that. I also saw where Microsoft's going to vote, have a vote for shareholders that they'll be allowed to put cryptocurrency into their treasuries, like MicroStrategy does. Trump also said he'd replace Securities Exchange Commissioner Gary Gensler. And again, they don't really like Gary Gensler in the crypto world. And on top of that, if you remember back in the early part of the year, the U.S. approved Bitcoin ETFs, exchange traded funds for Bitcoin, that allowed investors to buy into the asset that tracks the price movement of Bitcoin while avoiding the inconvenience and risk of purchasing the crypto coin itself. I don't know if you know anything about it. I have Bitcoin. I have different forms of crypto. I have ETFs. Coinbase, if you go to Coinbase and you buy Bitcoin, you can take possession of it and put it in your own safe place, or you can leave it with Coinbase. If you get an ETF, you do not have possession of the Bitcoin. You can just use it for gains and losses. So you can sell your ETF and take your money out, but you don't really own the Bitcoin. So when you think about Bitcoin, I had some discussions this week with friends of mine, and we did a video way back when, not too far ago, when Bitcoin was at 65,000. And I think it was on our Two Regular Guys show, and Trent and I were talking, and I told my friends, I said, all you need, is to invest $6,500 and get one Satoshi. Okay, that's a tenth of a Bitcoin. I said, and if Bitcoin goes to 100,000, now you have $10,000. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, you have $100,000 on your 6,500. I said, if it goes down, to 4,200, you've gone from 6,500 to 4,200. So, you guys can take that risk if you want, but And so we started talking about it. I could tell at the table who actually did it and who didn't do it because the ones who did it were just talking up a storm. Oh my gosh, look what happened. I'm going to buy more. And then the next day I got some texts and some phone calls from the ones who didn't do it. Said, now how do I get into that again? So they're chasing. But anyway, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of FOMO out there. But, since its inception, Bitcoin has outperformed the S&P 500 from 2011 to 2023. Bitcoin's average annual return was 819%, while the S&P delivered an average annual return of 15.74%, and that's according to goodfinancialsense.com. If you look at MicroStrategy stock, and MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor was the first one to take all of his treasury out his company treasury balance sheet cash out of treasuries, and he put it into Bitcoin. And now he has a strategy where he offers convertible debt, and he takes that money for convertible debt that he borrows for under 1%, buys Bitcoin, and then pays it back, or the people can convert their debt into a share of MicroStrategy. And so MicroStrategy stock, we talk about NVIDIA, we talk about AI, it's gone up 451% year to date. Basically, while Bitcoin has gone up 111.6%, and the S&P has averaged about 25.7 year to date. So it's an interesting alternative, but I think this week in these elections, of everything that's gone up, that's probably caught the most attention. And if you look at IBIT is the ETF that BlackRock. If you remember Larry Fink, back in the day, they came out and BlackRock, JP Morgan, no one's going to get into Bitcoin. We don't believe in it, blah, blah, blah. Well, then Larry Fink started a Bitcoin ETF, and it's called the iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT. It's now blown past one of the biggest funds in the old school category of investing, gold. According to FactSet, the Bitcoin exchange traded fund had roughly 34.3 billion in accounts under management as of last Friday. That put it above the iShares Gold Trust, the IAU, which had just under 33 billion. The asset numbers do not reflect the most recent crypto rally over this weekend, when Bitcoin surged above 80,000 and went straight to 90,000. IBIT was up about 6% last Monday, still trading about 30 billion, smaller than the biggest gold ETF that is GLD. And again, historical performance doesn't guarantee future returns. So if you consider any of this, invest in crypto, only invest what you can afford to lose. But it certainly has in the last 2 weeks gotten a lot of attention from a lot of people. And I saw that even Goldman Sachs, or not Goldman, JP Morgan came out. They had their reporting of what they bought. I think they bought $750 million worth of Bitcoin ETFs over the last quarter. So even though they're saying on one side with Jamie Dimon, we don't believe in this, their investors want it. And when you have an asset class that does what it does, highly volatile, but you're going to have people that want it. So you can start to see more of these big institutions come in and start to buy it, which just creates more demand because there's only 21 million Bitcoin available, and causes the price to go up. So it's an interesting asset class. It's an alternative asset class, but it certainly has been one that's taken off this week. Does anyone have anything to say about the crypto sphere and everything before I move on? Bob?
You're winning right
in?
now. You're winning. I have some IBIT. I don't have a lot of it, but I have some IBIT, and it's been growing pretty nicely. But it'll probably pull back soon. It seems to be struggling to that 100,000 number. It hits 93. But hey, I listen. I love crypto. I just don't like my frustration with crypto because I got ripped off of $250,000 in the Celsius scenario. And that's the part I don't like, the scams. And that's the part that, it's just, when is the next big scam? Because it hasn't happened in a while.
I think some of that, Bob, is the SEC was writing up companies for violating rules that weren't there because they didn't write them yet. And I think with the new, more crypto friendly administration coming in, they're gonna solidify those rules and make it better, because when you have Goldman Sachs and BlackRock and Fidelity and banks now want to get into it, you're gonna need more defined rules and regulation on that. And I think that's going to help it become a better asset class over time. Just my thought.
Just so you know, I mean, when that happened to me, um, after that, I cold storage all my crypto because
Yeah,
of
yeah,
what happened. But my friend right across the street got scammed for 35,000, right from across from my house.
right.
I never put another penny in there, and he's a guy that, to recover that 35 is kind of hard, right?
Yeah,
It's not like me, okay, I lost it, I'll move on, and I made that money back in another way. But he's going to struggle because he doesn't have the capital to be able to get that money back.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's like everything. You got to be careful, and
Yeah.
especially in this, it's because it's very new. And
The rails are unsafe, right? And it's very technical too when you're moving money from one exchange to another. You got to make sure you're doing it right, and people get
yeah,
messed up in that. They have to make that whole system much easier. I mean, I've learned it, but
yeah,
it's scary every time you do it, right?
yeah,
Every time you're moving that money from your cold storage and you're moving it over to the platform to sell it. And then, I don't even know how the platforms, because I haven't traded anything, on that on the crypto on Coinbase. But usually when it gets crazy, like when it's crazy when you got all these, when you open up your social media and all you see is face after face pushing crypto. So
well, yeah,
euphoria has set in now.
yeah, it has. And I've been in it probably 2019, 2020s when I first started. And you go through that whole scenario of, yeah, it's a bunch of crap, and then you look into it and you're like, okay, I can trade it. Like Michael Saylor says, you get 100 hours of study, you start trading it and learning about it. He says you get 1,000 hours of study and then that's all you buy. Well, I haven't got to 1,000 hours because I'm certainly not buying just totally all crypto, but it's certainly
Yeah, you
it's
diversify.
certainly, yeah, it's
Yeah.
certainly it's certainly something you want, like gold or silver, to kind of hedge out and give you that opportunity uh, to hit the home run if it does hit, and the way I explained it to my friends who can afford $6,500, I said it's not going to go away. Um, and so you're in it for 6,500 on the low side, losing, and the upside. I don't know how high it can go, but
Yeah.
I've heard what it can do, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah.
well I want to look at a few charts here just to show you momentum in this week, if I can. Yep, Trent's got me set up. It should be the SPY. So it was
While
really
you're
interesting.
doing that, Trent, you brought up about the banners and everything. I will say that there is a lot more positivity in the business market now that Trump has been elected.
Yeah, I see that as well. I do catch the other side of it every so often. What was it? The group of women who are no longer going to date, kiss, or um was it have babies. And as somebody responded, so you're gonna let all the conservatives populate the United States. So I think it has been it I think it's been positive, but I
Oh,
also think you still have people who are freaking out. But
oh, sure, sure.
as
Yeah,
as we all as every election has done.
When are we gonna get that plane together so all those, actors and actresses can all get on that plane and leave the country, right?
Well, yeah, I think people just talk.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of,
Anyhow,
anyway, I think there's just a
we're
lot of
past
talk
it now.
well, you
Anyway,
can see
my
what
point
happened.
was that there's a better attitude and, at
Yeah,
least on the business side, I see.
yeah,
I can see that. Well, you can see it in the markets. Here was election day right here, gap up, and then we
Yeah.
came up, and we hit resistance. And again, momentum is a temporary thing. We hit the resistance level, and here we are coming back down. We're seeing the MACD. This is the S&P 500. Now we had crossover on the uh, on the stochastic, and we're heading down towards lower than 50 on the RSI. So um, it doesn't last forever, and we saw that in the markets this week. Last week was a big bump up, and this week it's going back to the mean basically. Let's look at the Dow. See the same thing. Here's election day. Here's our big gap up. Came up, went over a little bit of the resistance, coming back down. Now we're under the 9 again. Okay. Same thing with the MACD. Same thing with the stochastic. Same thing with the RSI. So we're seeing momentum slow, and that's why when I look at my watch list, on Sunday I had 41 or 40 momentum stocks that were just trading on momentum because of the election. And I said, be careful because you don't know on a lot of these charts where your upper level of resistance is. And then about Wednesday or Thursday, the line popped in, and a lot of stocks were here. And if you got in above that, you can see what happened on a lot of them. So you got to be careful on momentum because it can die really quick. But we had a ton of momentum, okay, and I had just one that was over the 200 that was semi close to making my list, and then I only had 4 or 5 on the watch list. I mean, you can listen to the news and you see this and this is great, but here's what I was seeing this week, okay, and so the momentum was going down, even though the attitude and the feeling was good, but the markets didn't match that for me. So that's why I didn't have very many this week. And if you did, you had to really watch them because the markets, again, the Dow's down 347 points now, and the NASDAQ's down 450 points right now. Okay. And this is after last week's big momentum swing up. And I'll go over a little bit of news later, what's going on, but you guys probably already know. But even in technology, here's the cues. And look at here was the election, and now look where we are now. We're down below the 20. Okay, after we came up, a little bit of joy along the green line of death, and down we go. And you can see the oscillators are doing basically the same thing. I've mentioned that momentum ETF, MTUM, and you can see here was election day, did the same thing, and now look, momentum's just sliding. So momentum trades can be good until they aren't, okay? And again, it's a temporary thing, and momentum doesn't last forever. It's like shooting an arrow straight up in the air. Eventually, it's going to slow down, stop, and come back to the mean. So, which is the Earth. We were talking about Trump trades, and one of them is the banks. And you can see what happened with the banks. Boom, they went up, and they're still just sliding along the green line of death. They haven't experienced the drop down, at least on the ETF, the financial services sector ETF. But again, it's hard to get past this line as far as I'm concerned, and we may see the momentum slide on that. We can get into Wells Fargo, some of the names that we mentioned. Same thing. JP Morgan. Same thing. Okay. We still have upward moving everything, but it's got to get past, in a sustainable way, this line of resistance to keep moving on. Bank of America. But again, these were what they said were the Trump trades. Bank of America, boom, 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 right on the green line. Okay. There's only so much momentum to try to get past that before it runs out of steam. You can go down and you can kind of see the MACDs and kind of figure out what's going on. So that was one of the trades. Energy was another one they were talking about. XLE. See, energy looks the same, pretty much just like we saw in financials. Okay, came up, just kind of heading right around the green line of death here. We look at some of the XOM, ExxonMobil within the energy sector. It came up. We've just been going sideways. Now we're kind of dropping down below the 9. A lot of things affect energy. A tanker gets shot at, in the Red Sea, and prices of oil go up, or there's a chance of peace in Gaza, and then the price of oil goes down. So there's a lot more kind of risk in the technicals for ExxonMobil, and energy stocks. SLB, Schlumberger, okay, it came up. The green line of death's way up there, but it came up to where the sell orders were, and it came back down. So lose a little momentum in there, but you saw that for the most part, energy benefited. Prisons, okay, this is interesting. I had to look these up because I didn't know there was prison stocks. This is GEO, and it's a REIT, and they must do prisons. But you can see how that gapped up. They had earnings, again, came up, hit the sell order, still got a little bit of 3 days of going up. If they can get past sustainably, past the green line of death, we'll see. A little bit of a bump in the stochastic. We're still above here. I personally wouldn't buy above the green line of death, but depending on your risk factor and your momentum and what you believe, you may have a different opinion than I do. CXW, another prison stock that did kind of the same thing. It kind of overshot, okay, and then it's come back to earth, and now we're sitting right on top of the green line of death, and we're seeing a little bit of rollovers, seeing the stochastic down a tad bit. And then another one was small caps, IWM, and you can see that gapped up, played around a little bit, and for the last 4 days have been coming down. Again, momentum's sliding out of the market. The stochastic crossed. You can see right where the stochastic crossed, we started coming down. That's always kind of a pre-warner that the MACD is going to do the same thing, and that's what's happening right here, the RSI. So, it was a nice 4 or 5 day momentum swing, and the markets are coming back to reality. Some of the stocks they talked about with Harris would have won were like solar stocks. So here's TAN. This is the solar ETF. Here was election day. Here you can see there was some excitement. And over that weekend before, this is Monday, Tuesday, the Des Moines Register came out and said that she was ahead by 2 or 3 points in Iowa. And that brought up some of these stocks. And then you can see the day after the election, the solar stocks kind of came down. Well, they did come down. So not everything went up. Enjoy last week or this week. Here's First Solar, just a big company within it. Came election day down. It's kind of come back a little bit, tried to get up and got beat back. So First Solar's trying to make a little bit of a comeback. The other was healthcare, was one that was supposed to benefit if Kamala Harris got in. And you can see here is election day right here, and it kind of popped up, came back down, and then healthcare is just sliding. It's even down below the Bollinger Band now in healthcare. We can look at, there were some other things that went on in healthcare, different study. Here's Lilly, okay. It was election day right here. PFE, Pfizer's just been kind of in a downfall. I think ever since Josh Brown said he bought into it, we've been seeing it do this. So we'll see. And then the other one that was supposed to, we talked about, it was home builders. One of her policies was to give a certain amount of money and build 300,000 homes. And you can see home builders kind of went up, and now we're just kind of moving sideways. And I think some of the home builders was that combined with what the Fed did, they lowered by 50 basis points, and then they lowered by another 25, but it really didn't affect the mortgage rates. In fact, the mortgage rates are going up. So home builders didn't really benefit from anything there either. And then finally, we'll go to the crypto side and look at, here's Bitcoin, and election was right here. This was the day before the election. It was election. It's just been riding the Bollinger Band, got a little bit outside, came back in the Bollinger Band. We're seeing a little bit more, it's an embedded stochastic, okay, telling us that there could be more room to play between support and resistance. Now that it's back in the playing field, we'll just have to see, but it's still moving on. Ethereum, this is second largest crypto, Ethereum. Ethereum did the same thing, except it's come down today. It's actually below the 9 now, and it got above its 200, and it's coming back down. We'll see if that bounces. Doesn't look too good on the oscillators on Ethereum. MicroStrategy. This is the company that owns 1% of all Bitcoin out there. Looks exactly like Bitcoin. So if you want to play a Bitcoin play without having Bitcoin, MicroStrategy may be something you want to look at. Again, we had crossover here. So, we probably anticipating we'll see if that comes down or not. We're not seeing that same crossover on the Bitcoin chart at this point. Some of the others, Coinbase. This is the big exchange for crypto. It came up, zoomed through its line of its intermediate level of resistance, hit the where all the sell orders were, came back down, and now it's trying to find support on the resistance, and we'll see if it can continue to do that. Again, we're seeing a stochastic that crossed down negative. We'll see if that affects the MACD and where price goes here. It's going to be interesting this weekend to see, a lot of crypto moves on the weekend. It'll be interesting to see what happens in crypto this weekend. Here's the IBIT. This is the ETF that BlackRock has. You can see it did the same thing, and it's come up and it's hit it's amazing, this green line. It hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just sitting right there again, looking at a stochastic that changed over. So something's going to have to be a catalyst to keep the Bitcoin train moving up, in my opinion. And it's just kind of sitting and waiting to see what's going to happen. It could be an announcement. I don't think they've announced. I don't think they've announced the SEC commissioner yet. So if that comes positive, you might see another bump on the crypto side. I don't know, but something will make that roll. So you're kind of seeing in the charts why we had a big bump up, okay, and then we had kind of a little 3 days of going up, and then we went sideways, and now we're seeing the momentum slide out. Not on all stocks, but on a majority of them that you see. And then you can see how the sectors were affected by depending on who won and what their policies were. Whether you like the policies of one candidate or another, it does affect the stock market, but it only affects it mostly temporarily, and you can see in the charts what's going on. The other things, because we just don't live in the election world, that's starting to fade off a little bit. CPI came out this week, and the headline inflation accelerated to 2.6% in October, and that's up from 2.4% in September. Fed president from Minneapolis, Neil Kashkari, said that given the headline numbers from the recent consumer price report, he feels assured that inflation is heading in the right direction. And I noticed that he didn't say what direction that was, but to me, looking at the charts and looking at inflation, it's going up. Okay, it's not going down anymore, and it's not going towards their 2% target. And again, inflation, when it accelerates to 2.6%, that doesn't mean that it's going down. It's still going up. It's just not going up at 9%. We're still, on average, over the last 4 years, up 20-some% in inflation, and even more if you consider car insurance, home insurance, and other things that we buy. The PPI came out on Thursday, and that rose 0.2% month over month. But September was raised higher from 0.0% to 0.1%. And meanwhile, on an annual basis, the headline PPI rose 2.4%, and that was higher than the 2.3% expected. And then they also revised last month higher from 1.8 to 1.9. So you see that inflation is not heading in the right direction. And what that caused the other day, I think it was yesterday, Powell came out and said, we may not have to lower rates anymore. And that's where we're seeing the markets today. So we've kind of moved past the election momentum, and now we're getting back to regular momentum. So when you look at the PPI, the core producer price in the United States, which exclude food and energy costs, rose by 0.3% from the previous month, up from 0.2% in September. From the previous year, core producer prices have risen by 3.1% in October, the most in 4 months, following an upward revised 2.9% increase in the prior month and slightly above forecast of a 3% advance. So, this is a long way from the Fed's mandated 2%, and it's moving in the wrong direction. Okay, we're not going down anymore. We've kind of hit that bump, and we're seeing it go up. And if you go back in history, back when we've seen the Fed start to lower rates too quickly, you see inflation come back in, and they're going to have to go and maybe raise rates to get the inflation back to where they want it to be. We'll see.
Hey, Mark,
Okay. Yeah.
mind if I show you this chart here?
No, go ahead.
This is, I think, in line with what you're saying.
Oh, yep.
How we, the consumers, see inflation is the blue line. How
Yeah.
the economists are seeing inflation.
Hmm.
Much bigger, different point of view, right?
Yep.
It's yeah.
But I think
And I think
that was reflected a lot in the results of the election, that
yeah,
people were being told by these reports like you just saw, hey, look, inflation's down. When it's not really down, they were kind of fibbing on that. It's just not up as much. But it never did disinflate. So what the prices that we had 4 years ago are 20% higher, and they're still going up month over month. Okay, just not as fast.
yeah,
And so people are hurting when 65% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck, and your car insurance goes up, your house insurance goes up, your property taxes go up, and a lot of that isn't even included in these reports. Your food is going up, your gasoline's gone up, but your paycheck hasn't gone up enough to make that work. And that's what people voted on, I think, from my analysis, and that's just my opinion, was on one side they were hearing, oh, everything's great. Why don't you just shut up and enjoy the life we have? And on the other side, they're like, well, where's it so great at? I see the
yeah,
people where I live. I certainly don't live in a resort area. I live in an agrarian area, different type of people here than you would find on the West Coast, and different ideas. And so, houses here don't cost what they cost on the East or West Coast. We just live in a different kind of a world here. So anyway, 30-year mortgage rate, the average 30-year fixed mortgage is at 6.78%. That's about where it was last week, but it's staying there. It's high in nearly 4 months. So we're seeing that even though the Fed has lowered rates, it has no effect on the 10-year yield or the 20-year. In fact, the 10-year has gone up, I think, consistently since they announced the 50 basis point lowering of the Fed rate. And again, the Fed rate is an overnight rate of which they lend banks back and forth. So it really has nothing to do with the bond market. Actually runs what our rates are and what the economy really is doing. And the bond market's telling us, look, you guys are on the wrong track from a Federal Reserve point of view and what you're doing. And we see it in the rates. just when you thought things were getting better, you got Boeing got their strike over, but Boeing's still going to lay people off because of the issues that they've had getting back up and going. Uh, the longshoremen, remember them? They settled on I forget, it was 60% pay raise over so many years. Well, that union representing those dock workers at the East and Gulf ports yesterday walked away from the negotiating table with port employers over concerns about automation. And if you remember, it's January 15th, I think, is the deadline to finalize a deal, or they're going to strike again. So, we got that just on the horizon. We'll see how that plays out. But right now, they're not talking to each other. And so keep that in the back of your mind, about what's going on. The U.S. jobless claims came out, and the number of individuals filing for unemployment benefits fell by 4,000 from the previous week to 217,000. Okay. So that's the least since May, and below the market expectations of an increase to 223. So, okay, 4,000. All right, we still have, pretty good jobless claims. Continuing claims fell down from 1.884 million to 1.873 million, still holding near the highest since December of 2022. Jobless claims at a fresh 6 months low. That's not really the kind of data that the Fed's going to look at because Powell said yesterday they're going to look at the data. That's really not justifiable for another rate cut when you have data like that. On the other side, you see that the jobs claims are about the same, down a little bit. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, said on Wednesday to lay off 4% of its global staff. It's about 1,000 employees as the computer chip maker seeks to gain a stronger foothold in the artificial intelligence chip space. If anyone got into SMCI, Supermicro continues to be a dumpster fire. They said in a filing that it'll be unable to file its quarterly report form on 10Q for the period ending September 30th in a timely manner without an unreasonable effort or expense. They said they need additional time to select and engage a new accounting firm. How would you like to be that accounting firm? When Ernst & Young won't do it for you, who's going to do it? I mean, what's the quality of that accounting firm that's going to say, yeah, I'll come in and do it? The Q1 2025 Form Q10 cannot be completed and filed until the 2024 Form Q10 is filed and completed. So they keep getting further and further behind. As previously announced, the company has been unable to file its annual report on Form 10K for the period ended June 30th, 2024. And you keep seeing the stock go down and down. So I personally don't chase stocks like this because I remember Enron. And I remember people saying, Enron, oh, look, it's a bargain. Enron will never go out of business. Well, I'm not saying they're going out of business, but their stock's going the wrong direction. And if you can't file your financials, that's a problem. And I know Bob will back me up on this one probably, but it's just not a good deal.
My
Spirit
question
Airlines,
is,
go ahead.
when will they get delisted?
Well, has to be pretty quick because they don't wait too long on that. You can't keep missing
No.
these reports and stay listed.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
I would think it would happen very soon.
I'm thinking so too, So,
Don't hold your breath on that.
yeah.
Some of those companies stay on for 2-3 years. It's the
Wow.
listing requirements on NASDAQ are loose.
That's pretty loose.
But they only got, I don't know what their stock price is, but their trajectory down is going to hit pretty low here pretty soon.
I saw analysis that it was the bottom line was like 9.25-ish is, if it hit certain threshold, it would drop down. So that was the bottom end that they were looking at. Then again,
Well,
you
let's
got to
take a-
remember that these guys only put things together. They really have no core per se.
Let's look at it. Here. We have the technology.
We can rebuild them.
Yeah. I don't know. SMCI. Yeah, here we go. I mean, let's just look at a year just to give us some perspective here. Well, see, my computer program's even confused to going back a year. It's like, what? There we go. Oh, that didn't work out well. Oh, that's because of this little stupid thing there. We'll get rid of that. There we go. Yeah. Here was our epic rise. Where were we at? 115, and that was March 8th, and we haven't been there since. And this is just epic here, and we're right in. I mean, we're right between the. Come on, my program doesn't like SMCI, I guess, and it's just following down the Bollinger. It's back. I mean, it's back within the Bollinger, and I mean, it could head down, where's the lower Bollinger is at. Where is it? Lower is at 945. Is that about what you said, Mike?
9.25, I think it was.
Okay,
926, I think was the
it's
number.
it's close, but I mean that Bollinger is still heading down. It's not stopping.
I think the key takeaway is that 200 just took a turn.
Yeah, it did. You're right. It took when you have a 200, you have a 200 dip down. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Short
Yeah, you're
candidate.
right. So I personally will not be buying into SMCI. That's not financial advice for anyone, but I don't see that working out too well. Something else I'm not going to buy is Spirit Airlines. They're preparing to file for bankruptcy protection after merger talks with Frontier Airlines fell through. After the news broke at 5:30, the share price slumped 40% in seconds, wiped out hundreds of millions of dollars of value. I can't even imagine being an SMCI or a Spirit Airline shareholder, which is why we put stops in on things to make sure if something like that happens. And I'm not even sure a stop would have caught it if you fall that much. Uh, it's just sad. But I mean, Spirit's been in the news for a long time about that, trying to merge with Frontier. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory out in Pasadena is laying off about 325 employees, or 5% of its workforce. California-based Research and Development Center deals with funding challenges for the upcoming year. When I worked in aerospace, I actually got to go to the JPL quite a bit. It was really a cool place to go, and really, really smart people there. Open Door, a real estate tech company headquartered in San Francisco, announced Thursday to lay off 300 workers. Nissan Motors said it would slash 9,000 jobs and cut global production capacity by a fifth while revising its profit outlook sharply lower. Americans' credit card debt continues to climb, hitting a fresh record at the end of September. According to a new report from the New York Federal Reserve, total credit card debt rose to 1.17 trillion during the third quarter, an increase of 24 billion from the previous quarter. According to the report, it marks the highest level on record in Fed data dating back to 2003. So the momentum story this week and last week is now diminishing momentum. And, although the elections are bringing us a new administration with new ideas and new hopes and dreams, the underlying economy that we've been talking about for this whole year, as far as I'm concerned, remains the same as before the election. So, the market's just catching up and getting back into that mode, in my opinion, that look, it's nice, the election's over and everyone's happy, and there's going to be some things that maybe happen within sectors, but we still have a lot of problems to solve, and there's a lot of people still hurting. We still have high debt. We still are printing money left and right. We have a mess, in my opinion, in the economy, and it's gonna drag. It's gonna have the market, thinking about it, and hopefully we can get this turned around before the market meets the economy, in my opinion. Trent, you got anything on that?
On the economy?
Well, on anything I said.
Like I said on Tuesday on our Two Regular Guys show, the anticipation that everything's be wonderful that Trump has been elected overnight should be squashed. We've got 4 years, if not 14 years, of unwinding of cheap money, overspending, both from a government standpoint, but also a household standpoint. And I think there will be great change and great things to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen on day two. And I think we should anticipate that. And I think that's where you go back to the macro ec economics, the numbers. When you look at, these companies reporting, you look back quarter year over year, and you look at the rate of change of their earnings, and their revenue. And I think you'll see a decline in a lot of it. And I think that's, you just got to be aware of it and reposition. I do think we are seeing a reinflation element. You're seeing that in the 10-year yield, which is attached to your credit cards and your mortgage rates, and you should expect housing numbers to slow. I mean, it's just math, add and subtract and divide and multiply. And but I am optimistic, like Bob said, earlier, about the business community is more optimistic. I do think you're going to see um a reduction in business regulatory type stuff that has stopped. And I think where you look is what's gonna, especially on the short term when things inflate, what asset classes inflate with inflation and how can you profit from it? So I think it's just, I'm excited about the next future, but I'm also like realistic that you just don't erase everything overnight.
No,
So
it's going to take a while. It's, everything has to go through the system. It's a big system.
yeah.
When I look at from a swing trading point of view, it's frustrating because you go back and look at the paper trade portfolio, you can see some of those weeks we had 20 things on the list
Oh yeah.
because it was all going up. It's easy when it's going up. Now when you have what we have now is just we're so based on what the next report's going to say or what the election's going to be, and the market is nervous. It's not confident. Okay, there's certain areas and certain stocks that'll pop up, and do well. But when I go and I run the screeners every weekend, I'm seeing like I said last week I ran them, and I'm like, God, everything's just in momentum, and then nothing else is really looking like a setup for my watch list that would meet all my trading guidelines. And it just week to week, it's going to change. And so I'm just looking at what the market's doing now and over the last 3 or 4 days. And I can tell you the momentum's guys are going to be gone. Okay. And this is, on my list. I'm going to see a lot more flat, sideways movement. And I'm not going to see that many setups for a watch list again, on how I do it for myself. Now, I know that's not exciting because everyone wants to be in the trade, but there are pockets of playfulness, and that includes crypto if you do dare to do that. But you can use charts on crypto too, but they're just fewer and far in between, so they're harder. Your trades are harder because you got to watch them a little closer and set your stops. You don't want one of these things to get away going down, okay? Because they can go pretty quick, and so it's more challenging. Paul would probably say it's more fun because it's challenging. But the trades are there, so we can still do it. The quality and the number of trades are not there, in my opinion, from how I do it. But we'll still, I'll still search them out, and I'll put out those lists this weekend, and you guys can take a look and and trade it to your trading guidelines and your risk management or not. And you're also welcome to get on the Platinum Chat and throw your ideas out too, so everybody can see it. Paul does that quite a bit, and see what we got. So, Mike, do you have
Mark.
anything? Oops, hold
Sorry,
on.
what?
Mike? Do you have anything to add?
Oh, no, I've been using the notebook LM from that Kerry introduced us to, and I'm just floored with it. And the other night it was screwing around, and I started comparing Melli, I believe it is, in Argentina, and what he's done, and what articles are out there thinking on Trump. And I'm trying to figure out potentially where we're gonna go between that, using him as a guidepost. So as I get more articles and stuff and add into it, I'll share it with you guys.
Yeah, I think he was down at Mar-a-Lago yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
That guy. So if you guys
So
don't know,
touchy.
he's the president of Argentina. He kind of went and did he went through the bureaucracy in Argentina
With
and
the
cut out what he thought was waste.
machete.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. And I appreciate you putting that out there so we can take a look at it, see what's
Yeah,
going
I'm
on.
waiting for some more articles to get a little bit more. It was a little too narrow when I started doing it, but I'm floored by this notebook LM thing and how to do it. I even helped my daughter with her economics homework in school. I put in the questions and it came out with the answers as a brief. It's like awesome. I don't have to go back in and read the book.
That seems like cheating.
Well, I did it. She did. Difference there.
Utilization of resources, I think, is how I would refer to it.
Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
that's a very good warning. It's kind of
Okay.
like you don't steal, you acquire it, tactically acquire.
I have a note. I have a
I,
note here that when they mentioned that, it was a lady that mentioned it on that call 2 weeks ago. I haven't looked into it yet, but it's on my desk to do so. That
I've
notebook
used it
LM.
for 3 different things and I'm blown away with each one of them, what it provides you and how it provides you. And
Yep.
took that from what Trent was putting up on the website. He did one on financial analysis, the discussion things and
Yeah.
NVIDIA. It's fabulous stuff. The way that they present
Pretty
it, it
crazy.
just comes at a different way.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to try to get in there at some point and take a look at it because everyone I've talked to, like you, have said, yeah, it's well worth the effort. So perfect. Paul, what are you looking at this week? Anything?
I just sold out of some big positions that I had in Dash and Reddit, which I've been in for weeks,
Let's take a look.
but I'm still holding in 2 other positions. So there's
So
good stuff out there.
you've kind of gone more long term on us, I think, right?
For sure.
So here's Dash. Oop, hopefully it'll come up. There we go. Oh yeah, it hit the green line of death. That was a nice run.
Yeah, it probably
Well,
3 weeks in this thing.
yeah, I would have loved to. I mean, God, if I'd have found this one because this is about
I don't think I'm
this
gonna.
is this is about where I would have got in on my trading guidelines. I might have gotten out on some of these Bollinger Bands like here.
You can do that
I would have
anytime you want.
I would have got out. I would have got out here for sure on the earnings. But yeah, you can see what happened. But yeah, that was a good one. Who else did you say you were in?
Well, I'm not in that anymore. So I just took a lot of profit and I just pulled out of Reddit. I love that company, but I made a lot of money on it, so I can't complain.
Again, there we go. Green line of death. So yeah, look at that.
Beautiful.
Oh, it popped on earnings too, but that would have been a nice ride before earnings.
I've had it
Yeah.
before. Another good one that I'm still in is App Lovin'. I'm still in that.
APP,
Did you say McLovin?
App Lovin'.
App 11.
Oh, anybody knows, ever
So-
seen that movie? What was it?
I like this
anyway.
because I like the software platform, and on a terrible day, it's still holding its own. So I like that.
Watch this
No
green line
reason.
of death. That's
I'm
my
watching.
nemesis.
I know.
It's hit it.
And another good one,
6 times.
I would be, what's the other one? Palantir.
Oh yeah.
Palantir is just because there's so many retailers behind it. So those are some ideas.
Yeah, this one might actually get past the green line of death in a substantial manner. We'll watch here because stochastic's starting to come back over a little bit. We'll see.
So
We'll
that,
see
you know,
it.
that
We'll see.
that one moved from, I believe, the New York Stock Exchange to the NASDAQ, and it went up on that news, which is
Right here. Oh, there's earnings.
today.
Oh, today. Okay. That makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So these are-
that may be the catalyst that moves it past. I don't know.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
like I said, today's a nasty day, so I'm like, I like these stocks, but I'm gonna pull out, for a nice gain. And the
Yep.
ones that these 2 other ones, I'm still in them. So I'm in a lot of stocks that they're holding their own, but I also sold a lot today. So, all
But
good.
that's how you make money when you sell when you're above your cost basis. look at what's
Yeah.
going on here in the NASDAQ and the Qs. We're down almost 500 points. Look at that. Talk about a momentum switch.
Yeah.
You know, from election to
Yeah.
sideways to down. So again, look at our oscillators. Oh, MACD crossed. Oh, look at that. This is, I'm glad that, with swing trading, I'm out of these things for sure. But just you got to be careful. Make sure you have your stops. I mean, this was quite a gap, but look at the gap here. You know,
It's
and
just
so that's
retracing back to before election. That's all. It's just coming back.
everything
Yeah.
comes back to the
Yeah.
mean. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing. Momentum will come back to the mean, uh, and as the more you look at charts, the more you trade, the more you have a trading plan, you're gonna be able to look at something like that and just say, oh, okay, I know where this is gonna go. Probable in a probability. Not always. You can't always predict, but yeah. Um, that's all I have. Anyone else have anything? Trent, anyone? Anyone have questions? Esther's
So
here. Jason's here.
I posted an interview with Steve or Scott Basson. He's one of the candidates for the Treasury. He doesn't really. I've only listened to the first half of it, but he gets into the sort of the psychology of how he trades. He's a hedge fund manager, taught at Yale as well, but he's got some really good insight about how they look at position, buying or buy to not to buy, sort of the process. And I thought it was very insightful because they take a very let's prove this thesis wrong kind of approach before they actually take it to the street and to see if anybody else is actually thinking about it, which I thought was very interesting approach. And so I refer to it as the World War Z 10th man rule. If 9 of the committee says yes, the 10th man is to take the opposite. And if you've watched the movie, you'll remember that conversation. And I think it's one of those things that you oftentimes have to apply. But he talks about how they run and do their research at their hedge fund, but also gives you some insight of who this guy potentially could be running the treasury in the next year. So pretty interesting.
Okay. You put it on. You put it
Yeah.
on here.
Yeah, I posted it in the chat there.
Okay.
I got a quick question
Yeah.
for you, Mark.
Yeah.
On the platinum watch list, I forgot what the you note when you get out like on Monday on Riot platform out at the IRL. What's the IRL?
That's the intermittent or intermediate resistance. So that's that green line of death.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that for me personally, if it hits that, I'm out. I don't even play around with it. And you can see, I mean, like here, put this up. So I mean, this is the Qs. And there, I mean, right here is the IRL. Okay, and you get the IRL, come over here to technical analysis, you hit support and resistance. And this gives you your stops. So hit those two under technical analysis. And then it's intermediate because you can modify it. And you can do short-term, long-term, or intermediate. And I always use intermediate. And it'll tell you your support and your resistance. And here's your support, the blue line. Here's your resistance, the green line. So that's how that's all set up.
Is there a defined time frame on what intermediate is? Is it like a week or is it just set to whatever?
No, and sometimes watch this. I mean, sometimes let's go to short. Didn't even do anything. Long. Didn't do anything on this one. And you'll see that on these longer term like ETFs.
Because
You get into another.
anyway.
Yeah, you get into another stock that maybe isn't, that you'll see it pop around. But it's as you can see on the Qs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, out. It's if it can't get past that, if it does get past it, it usually goes up to this sell limit, this one here, and that's that sell that when we go to technical, this stops here. And that's that the program calculates out, and I don't know how it does it. It might go into what all the fidelity people do or whatever, but it says at this level, we're seeing. Okay, you can modify it. I always go above and tight. This one will move a little bit, and you can see where other people are, putting their stops. So there's 3 levels of stops there. And I always keep mine tight because it seems like if it gets past that green line of resistance, it'll go up only to the tight level of the stops, and then it comes back down. Not always, depending on momentum and other things going on with the stock, but a majority of the
Right.
times,
If it
you'll
would have went
see
up,
it.
you would have wanted to be in it, obviously.
yeah. But that's these are powerful. And even down here, this intermediate support level, which is the ISL, has the same kind of magic as the green line of death. So did I answer your question? Hopefully.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
are you updating that list manually every day, or is it on the same schedule as like the how the automatic stuff updates with like Kerry's list and whatever?
Well, I go in. I try to go in every morning when I get up, and I'll see if the support and resistance levels have changed, and if anything else has changed, and put the notes in. So yeah, I don't have
I
that
ended
many
up
on
getting
there.
in
So
on the. I tried out the Equifax trade the other day, and I ended up mixing up the boxes of the price of what it was when you entered it and what it was at the
yeah.
time. But I think I ended up getting in lower, even though you posted a loss of 65, or no, was it 183 that you posted? Or yeah, you lost 193 on it, or whoever took the trade did.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Anyway, I
let me
ended up
see.
winning on that trade somehow. So
Oh, good.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It depends. So much of it is when you get in, and I think on that trade, I think I just wherever it got put on the list, I didn't trade it down. If that box is in yellow on the price, that means I've waited and traded it down. If it's not, I just left it at whatever the day we put it on what the price was.
right.
Okay, because it's yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Mark, could you put up
Yeah.
SQQQ?
Certainly.
I just bought in while we're chatting, just crossed the MACD. So I'm dyslexic a little bit.
Oh, please. You're playing the short side here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out shortly.
Yeah, these short ones, they're not meant to be in very long, but I can see what you did. Here's the crossover. And so it looks like you got a green line of death coming up around 36.40. And then you've got, of course, you got the 50, which can be a good sign of resistance too. We'll see.
So
Yeah,
this is shorting the QQQs, just to let
this,
everybody knows.
yeah,
And we just got a MACD within today while we were talking. This MACD just occurred not too long ago. Right while we were talking, actually.
yeah, by 300ths of a
Yeah.
tick. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
Yep.
it's an interesting way. You could use the same oscillators to play that.
Just remember, these are recalculated every day. Their net asset values. So you can get in trouble if you leave it in there and you get long and you forget about it. So just know
Probably
what
be
you're
out
getting into.
before the end of the call. I'll be out.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a daily thing. And you can see the price of these things kind of just continually go down. And then they'll recalculate it. But you can see it's done this kind of stuff before. But yeah, look at that.
Put today's
That's almost
action in.
that's almost a baby cup and handle. Let's take a look.
Left to today.
Oh, look at that.
No, I meant minute by minute, today's action, not to get too granular.
Yeah.
Far left.
You know, I sometimes I'll do that when I'm bored in the winter and it's snowing and I can't do anything outside. I'll just work on something. I'll put a minute chart or something up and I'll do the day trading thing. which is ridiculous, but it's kind of like Dr. Jackson playing his slots. So his tuba, yeah. All right, anything else, guys?
Julian?
Hey Mark, hello guys.
All right, Julian.
I was wondering just to try to learn more. Do you have or we have a technical analysis that we can see when the momentum from presidential election or maybe another topics could be end to start analyzing way better from the chart, or there is anything that we cannot see, we have just to wait? I don't know if I understand my question.
I'm not understanding it.
So what I want to say is, for example, we know that the presidential election changed all the analysis from the technical perspective because that was a fundamental analysis maybe. But to analyze how the momentum of any stock could be end, we do have some technical indicator that we can see that or not.
Oh, definitely. Here, one of the indicators for momentum. Yep. So is the RSI right here,
Okay.
and you see the RSI coming up,
Yeah.
and it's above 50. So if you have a rising RSI above 50, you're seeing the momentum is moving up. Okay. And
Okay.
same with the stochastic, you're seeing the same type of movement too. So if it's below 50, that's kind of when I look at all my gauges, and we're just using Paul's example of SQ, I'm above the 9. I'm below the 200, but we do trade that. I got a 50 up here, which will give me resistance. I got the green line. My oscillators are telling me, okay, that's positive. We have a crossover. We have a crossover here on the stochastic, and I'm above 50 on the RSI, which is the momentum indicator. So these three are positive, which is a good sign. Then you look down here. What isn't all that important or all that happiness is I still have a 9 moving average that's trending down. Okay. I do have a 20 that's kind of trending back up. I am above the 9, but I do have resistance really close. So, those things would keep me from moving into this on a longer term swing trade. Like Paul's just using it today. He's going to get in and get out. Okay. So it's more of a kind of a day trade for Paul at this point. But yeah, this RSI is a momentum indicator for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Trent, you got anything else to say? My voice is starting to go.
No, I think we've covered it. I think it's just, we got one big hurdle, past us. Now it all goes back to economic data and
Individual
applying your
companies.
process.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'll run the screeners again this weekend and hopefully get some stock symbols out, on their 3 stocks, momentum and under the 200. Hopefully we'll have some. With the way the market's looking today, it looks like it's not going to cooperate on a lot of. I think our momentums are going to go away because we had 40, which was a lot, and I don't see that as coming back at that level. Maybe we'll have some under the 200s, but when you see markets go down like we're seeing today and yesterday, they're pretty much the markets are telling us, be patient and wait for the setup. And we need markets to go down in swing trading for the setups to come back. And when they do come back, there are going to be some good ones. There's going to be a lot more of what we're finding right now. But I'm very cautious. I don't like to put my money in in harm's way. I would rather sit out and watch. You know, I still have my long terms. I still watch those. And those have done well with a lot of my crypto, and a lot of my Berkshire have done well. A couple others, and you know, that's how we do it. And I've got income producing accounts, and I put out. We went over the yield max a couple of weeks ago, and I put it out on Mark's office, just an example of what I was trying to explain 2 weeks ago. So go take a look at that. That'll yield you a little yield. If you do that, just be cautious that there's a lot more risk involved in covered call option strategies and ETFs, basically with your principal for sure, with your net asset value. But it's a way to do it. Paul and I talked a little bit. There's still treasury bills out there that are paying 4.5% for 30-day. It's not 5.5%, but it's not 0.2 like your bank's paying you. So you know, try to keep your money moving where it's working for you, and be patient and let this market come to you, and you'll do fine. You know, you don't have to be in it every day. You don't have to have 25 trades in every day. You know, I think we had 5 this week. 2 were bad, 3 were up, but we still ended up. So you know, that's what you want to do. You want to hit balls and get people on base and get them home. And you know, you're going to have a couple disappointments, but on the bottom side, always have a stop in, determine what your level of risk is, whether it's 1%, 2%, 7% on the bottom side, you know, and set that and stick with it. And then you'll know your losses will never be more than that. Okay. Let your gains ride. And that's how you play the game, and you follow your trading plan, and you make money. That's hate to say it's as simple as that, but that's, you know, it's a process. If you follow your process, you should do well.
Cool.
And my voice is about gone.
Yeah, I can tell.
Buy
Yeah.
low and sell
Alrighty,
high.
guys.
Well, there's another one too.
That's right.
All right,
All
so
right, well,
we'll see you at 3.
yeah.
You guys
And,
have a good. If we don't, have a good weekend, and we'll start this craziness all over next week.
Anybody watching the Tyson fight?
Oh,
I'm
you know,
really
that's going to be
curious.
interesting. Didn't they get into a little
Heck,
brawl
yeah.
when they're doing their face to face?
Yeah, Tyson slapped him.
Oh,
Yeah, it's already been delayed since July, so a lot
Is
of
it tonight?
Yep, tonight.
Yep,
7
tonight,
my
Netflix.
time.
Oh, it's good. Netflix.
Could be interesting. So, all right, guys.
all right.
See you all
We'll see.
later.
Later, guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys, for being on.
Toodaloo.
See you.